So the first question I want to ask you, Trent, is when did you first start playing soccer, and how did you get into the game of soccer? What's your passion for that game?
I actually decided to become a professional soccer player when I was 3 years old. I watched the St. Louis Ambush play. My dad took me to a game, and I had already been to Cardinals games and Blues games. And when he finally took me to a soccer game, and I knew that he was an athlete and my mom was athletic, and I was like, okay, well, I think this is kind of him showing me like what it is that's out there in the world for me to do. And I was interested. I was like, dude, I could be a baseball player. I could be a hockey player, something like that. And I saw soccer. I'm like, I'm already doing this. I'm already playing around in my backyard, playing with buddies. So I stuck with it, and I'm like, nothing's changed me from that path. I've given everything a chance. Basketball, business, everything. I've gotten into every field and given it all a chance. But that passion for soccer never went away, and I'm real happy for it. It checks off a lot of boxes, and especially the giving back portion, which is really important to me, and that's kind of how I feel like I can change the world in a good way.
So were there ever times that you thought about quitting when you were playing soccer? Obviously, with sports, a lot of people have struggles down the line, whether it be with coaches or struggles not performing as well as you would want to be. But what kind of struggles did you go through, and did you ever think about quitting? And with that, what lessons did you learn?
That's a really good question. No, I've been hard on myself. I think when you've had some rough days, or you're just starting in the pros and you've kind of been beaten down day after day, I definitely had some drives back home where like I feel like replaying all the voices of my brothers on the field and coaches, that was just like I felt like it was like screaming in my head the whole way home. Like I feel like I've had a couple days like that. But luckily enough, like they kind of, I've been able to manage my way through it. I don't. I would say it made me a stronger player, definitely, because now when a teammate or a coach says something to me, or even a fan, um, I take it like I trust the outside world. I trust that people are genuinely good and that they want good from me and from each other. So if you have that general trust between brothers or between people, I feel like you can kind of keep going. I don't take it personally. I never have. I've seen a lot of guys retire way too early. I've seen guys better than me retire because they can't take the heat, and I feel like that's been that's a great question. I feel like that's one of those things that separates the men from the boys. I think is being able to manage just the sheer importance of every play, how valuable the ball is to keep possession. Like
Yeah.
those little turnovers, like they mean everything. So crazy.
Yeah. So overall, how do you think soccer or any sports in general impacted your life from a young age up until now?
Sports impacted my life. I think the answer is just yes. Yes, they just impacted my life. Um, I'd love to know yours too. I feel like sports impacts everybody in their own special way. It's a lot of some people escape to it. For me, I like to study it. I think the most I can contribute is that I have parents actually. So I've been all body language, since birth, and I feel like communicating through body language is my go-to. That was my first language, and the speaking kind of came later actually. But when I'm on a field, I feel like it's a conversation. The more advanced I get, I feel like I just go further into the deep, and I love every day. I love waking up and going to play soccer. I mean, obviously, but there's that added benefit that like I feel like if I wasn't doing this, I would be doing something so adjacent that it would feel the same. I really love basketball. My dad was a water polo player, so he captained the deaf U.S. national team, and I was always had in my mind that like I could do the same, but in the hearing world, it would be hard. It would be harder, and I would have to go through a lot, like we just talked about. Um, but I followed in such great footsteps that I was just able to interpret literally
Mhm.
what I've seen my dad do day in and day out, eating well, getting up early to train, consistency type stuff, and how to be a leader, how to, that, we all learn how to be men and fathers from our dads. So I feel like I was able to take that extra bit and see how, like, we're really talking about some deep impact in my life, really. Like, this is like how I see myself, how I identify, how I see myself, and how I want people to see me as like a caring person. Tough, honestly. Like, St. Louis soccer has a reputation for being the toughest. That's the key word.
Yeah.
And so I think tough is a part of that. I definitely had a tough upbringing, and being a professional soccer player is not just an easy way out of life. Like, I mean, it is a kid's game, but honestly, it's like one of the hardest things I've ever, that's the hardest
Yeah.
thing I could think of doing. That's like not, it's like not the road of least resistance. But yeah, I did want to know, what about you? Like, you know, I love to hear how, because
Yeah.
selfishly, this is what I do. Like, I want to hear how this affects others. What can I do
Right.
better? Like, so I just want to know. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I mean, there's tons of different reasons like why I've played sports. Obviously, like that's what I grew up doing. My parents were big into baseball and basketball, so that's kind of what I did. But like you said, I think it's kind of like an escape from everything, and it does suck when you suck or you're not playing well because that is your escape from everything else. And I think even when I'm getting older, like now that I'm playing college baseball, I see it even more that if I'm not playing well someday, everything's going wrong because like as right now I'm using that as an escape. So if that escape is not going the way I want it to be, then everything
Yeah.
else is going downhill.
What sort of outside of the field, like, when you walk around, you're a baseball player.
Yeah.
Like, when you drive in the car, you're a baseball player. It's how you identify. Is there, you can relate it to, like, not a backup plan, but like, if you were to be doing something else, what would you be doing? Like, how has this changed your off the field persona, like your attitude?
Well, I think I'm in the same boat as you, honestly. I think in high school I was kind of like a selfish. I wouldn't say selfish. I mean, I always cared about people, but ever since I've get into college, everything I want to do is for everybody else, and that's kind of why I do my podcast. Is because I want people to learn from stuff. So like getting your story out is something that benefits me because I'm learning from you, and I'm also having your story get out there, and people can learn from you. That's I always think that there's something to learn from. Like
Right.
even though you're having a tough day, there's something you can take a step back and learn from that. And I think that's one thing I've learned throughout the past few years is super important. But with that being said, I mean, when I am not on the baseball field, I think helping others is something, and learning, doing things the right way is what I've learned. Like if I wasn't playing baseball, I need to be doing things
Mhm.
the right way because the way I see it is like, you're on a baseball team and you're working together as a team to win. How can you win like in your life? So how can you accomplish every single day in order to get your end goal of a championship or of, just winning a simple game? Like each day is kind of a
Yeah.
game. And then at the end of your life, have you made it to that championship? Have you won that championship? If that makes sense. That's kind of how
No,
we can
yeah,
see
that
it.
makes so much sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of,
How,
yeah.
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. When you were talking to me about the relationships you have, especially with the coaches, and stuff, have you noticed, I guess, the level of brotherhood raise? I want to ask that because I feel like, um, get if you consider like college sports a hump to get over, because it's sort of like leading to a further goal sometimes. And all I've seen going from level to level to level is that I become better friends. I feel like you go through more in the trenches with like your teammates, and then now it's almost to the point where me and the coaches go through so much together that then
Yeah.
it becomes like a personal relationship with the coaches. Not just like that they're trying to teach me lessons, but it's like, we're sending each other memes and stuff like that. Like, it
Yeah.
becomes more of friends because I see how they're still friends with the 60-year-old, the
Yeah.
coach
Yeah.
that they had, and they're just like talking it up and being like, I learned this from him, and they mention it every week, and you're like, wow, I'm going to be mentioning this guy for so long. I got to get to know him.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's not. I don't think it's that way because I mean, I personally
Mhm.
in high school I was working or with people I was close with because I grew up with the kids in high school that I played ball with. So I feel like we were a lot
Yeah.
closer, and it was a little easier to be, to want to win for those guys. Not to say that I don't want to win with the guys I'm with right now, but I've known them for 2 or 3 years versus knowing these people in high school for 10 plus years. So it's a little bit different for
I
me, and
got it.
that's kind of I think that helped us a lot because we literally saw each other every single day and grew up
Hmm.
together and wanted the same thing. And the other thing too
Hmm.
is, my high school, we were kind of like the underdog culture thing. We always, I mean, every year, didn't matter if we were, we were probably ranked a few times, but we were always the underdog. And that I love being the underdog
That's
because
awesome.
you have no pressure but beating other people. So I mean, if you're
Yeah.
the top dog, if you're the number one ranked, then you have all these eyes on you. You're the underdog, you can do
It
whatever
gives you
you
that.
want, and then you can beat them, and
Yeah.
then you have all that
Yeah.
confidence because you beat them.
I love that feeling of like, of you need to catch up to somebody or to something. I love that
Yeah,
feeling of like, we got to get this stuff. Like there's no going
yeah,
back
yeah,
type of,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely different than like when you're crushing a team and you're just kind of on your heels. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. So
That's awesome.
I want to get back to like, so what do you think
Yeah.
giving back means to you? Like, why do you do it? And at the end of the day, when you look down the road, 10 years, 20 years, what do you want to feel or feel accomplished by giving back to these people?
I want to change the world. Well, actually, you and I talked off out of this conversation about
Hmm.
my last name a little bit. It went through Ellis Island. It changed a little bit, but it comes from tzaddik. It's an old word, and it's a given name. It means charity. It means justice. It means righteousness. If you've heard the Champions League song where they go like the champions,
Hmm.
that song is actually called Tzaddik the Priest. It comes from a long line of priests or rabbis where you know, they would give the name to somebody that they thought earned it. And obviously, that's not the case in today's world where it's like, oh, I earned my last name. That's not how it works. But it's like,
Yeah.
I've always felt that connection. And it was innate from a young age. I've always felt like, you know, having to interpret for my mom and dad being deaf has always given me that sense of responsibility from day one. If you can imagine going through a drive-through and having to talk for your parents, talk like get over them to speak through the window, like I was doing stuff like that. I would answer. We still had the home phone when I was a kid,
Yeah.
um, but I would be answering that phone for AT&T, for different appointments, for
Wow.
everything. Like I was the operator, and it's just not that that isn't already difficult, but imagine doing it at 4, 5, 6 years old. Like you have to be able to translate all that stuff. Then I moved into like taking care of a lot of their stuff, like their AT&T bill, and taking responsibility that route. And I've always had that in my character. I went to Catholic schools my whole life, and the constant theme was always charity and giving, and I connected so hard with it because you can do it through teaching, you can do it through giving, no matter how much you have. It's almost like a percentage thing. It's like you've heard of people that are homeless or don't have much, and they give their final little bit, because if you think about it, they're giving 100% of them, or
Yeah.
or over 50%. You take, I have every aspiration to make lots and lots of money, right? But if I write a $100,000 check and that's maybe like a percentage of what I make, am I really giving myself? Am I really giving it all? I
Right.
feel like when just like I said, I communicate what on the field, like with my body and in sports, I'm really giving my all. Like that's everything I got. I'm out of breath. I'm sliding in for tackles. I'm hitting guys. Like I feel like that's me giving 100%, and I have to hold that standard for myself, and I feel like it translates so easily for me, at least, to doing the most I can. I remember not having much. I was around your age. I was in college, and I was thinking like, man, I don't have like much going on. Like I don't have my own business. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a lot of assets, what do I was sort of like at that, not break even, but like I was just at the bottom, I'm like, I'm just getting started. I'm about to start my career, like everything like that. And I was thinking, I was like, what do I have to give? If I had everything, like, I have 100% of me, what do I have to give right now? And I didn't have like money to give to charity. I didn't have any stuff. I had like, my nice clothes in my little closet in college. Like, I was like, okay, well, what do I have? And it's like, if I gave anything, that would be like 100%. That'd be like everything for me. So I started a charity at that time in 2010 when I was still in college, and it was called the Kicks for Kids charity. And we take the bins, like lost and found bins that so many businesses and especially sports destinations have, of just kids leaving their cleats and their shirts and everything behind water bottles. And it started with St. Patrick's Center partnering with me, and we would donate to St. Patrick's Center. It was always for a homeless system in St. Louis. After a while, we transitioned into Feed My People, which is more South County, and they start to hammer out a lot of the counties, like Jefferson County and stuff. Like they spread out a lot more. And now we're partnering with the Buddy Fund. And you can talk about your relationship with the Buddy Fund, because I know you have a good relationship with them. But we're trying to give that sports equipment to the city kids. And I grew up 12 blocks from a river. I grew up in Soulard in St. Louis. And there were no soccer fields. My buddies didn't necessarily even live around me. They lived by my parish, which was like 2 miles west. I had to bike to see them. So I was playing in my street. I was playing up against the wall just to get my training in. I was playing basketball, and trying to relate the footwork and the movements to soccer, because I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I had to get good at all these other sports. I played every sport,
Right.
So I was always just taking what I was given and turning it into something. It's just like how you take like a lost and found, where it's like, this is just somebody's throwaway stuff. Because some people like have a lot of money and material things that they don't, they wouldn't come back if they lost their shirt or, shoes at Veta, which is a great partner of ours. So we run by all the Vetas and pick up their lost and found and give them to kids that would love to use them. Because I remember being a kid and not having shoes that fit or athletic clothes. And
Yeah.
when you're a kid and you show up to a sporting event without athletic clothes, you're wearing like, a cotton t-shirt, you're wearing, these different types of stuff, like you're out of place, really. Like
Yeah.
you're not there for sports. It's like you're there for a barbecue or a cookout, And, I remember showing up to my first SLU High soccer camp before freshman year, and me and my 3 city buddies had shin guards that had the ankle pads, and we didn't have socks that went up over them because we never played club. We were just playing kick and run CYC stuff, and the CYC system is it's the Catholic Youth Council.
Yeah.
They play in all the parishes downtown, and that's like historically like the top program you can play. And I was like thinking that was, if I can do well here, I'm going to be set. And it prepared me for SLU High, but I had to join a club team. And I realized that since I didn't have us 3 guys, we didn't have those socks that went up over our shin guards. We were so embarrassed that first day because we looked like,
Yeah.
just not serious guys. We looked like jokers, and we were just like, what are we doing? Like, we don't even fit in, with guys from the county and guys that live out west and guys that grew up maybe with money or played club or all this stuff. And these guys were like, it just felt like we were catching up, like
Yeah.
we had to catch up to somebody. But the skills were there. I feel like that scrappiness, kept me, allowed me to keep up with them. But yeah, I feel like the charity is so ingrained in me, and that it's my little way to change the world. And it's one of those things that with success, and not to go too long with my answer, but with success, I can give more. Just like I talked about, $100,000 check being a small percentage of my what I can give. Like that's the end goal, is being able to really impact and set up scholarships and pass something on that's bigger than me. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business. It doesn't have to be a family trust of some sort to pass on to kids. It can be just something that anybody could come and pick up, like down the line, and be like, oh, I think this is a great cause, and we should keep this going. And I've studied business. I have 2 business degrees in management and economics, and I've studied the best businessmen in the world. And at a certain point, it becomes like a philanthropy job. Like you look at Bill Gates, right?
Yeah.
He's a, just that one guy. He's done so much. He's gone through all these barriers, being such a tough guy and tough to work with even, but like he's gotten through all the stuff in life, media scrutiny, and then it all came back to him and his wife have a place to give philanthropy. And like you look at these nice events like black tie events, and they're all like giving money for charity. And it's like I feel like it always ties back to what can you do for others, because I do believe there's more good in the world than bad. So I feel like it gives me direction. It's definitely my little path to stay on the straight and narrow. Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with the Buddy Fund or your relationship with charity?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of like an internship for me. Like I said, I want to do something in order to like give back because I want to take care of people and want to feel like I've done something for the world. So I contacted them or they contacted me and they saw my podcast and I said, "What way can I help?" And we basically talked about using this podcast to talk with people like yourself who have had a significant impact in people's lives and giving back. Because I don't think, like from my perspective, people don't know too much about what it means to give back to these like organizations and stuff. So like I had to research the Buddy Fund. I had to tell my parents all about it, all my friends, because no one knew about it. And I think that's the same way with a lot of organizations. It's like I think it's boys. What's the? Can't think of the name of it. But there's one that works with the MLB, and like that's the only one that I knew. And I was like, okay, well this is something that I think personally, like everyone should be a part of. It doesn't take, like you said, you don't have to be giving thousands of dollars to an organization. If you give yourself and give your time, that's enough, and that puts you in the right direction to help others, and that also makes you feel good. Because personally, like doing this, I feel good about doing this. Got your story out. I'm learning from you, and I'm already. I feel like I'm more mature, I guess is the right word for it. I've grown from this experience. So I think that
I love that.
that's
I
kind
love
of
that.
kind of why I do this and why I'm super excited for this internship because I get to talk to people like yourself who made a huge impact into the community. But that's kind of the last thing I wanted to ask you is like, in your opinion, how do you think other people can do what you do? How can people give back, even if it isn't giving people $1,000 or $100 or $5? How can people give their time and their effort towards giving back to whether it be at-risk youth kids or just any organization?
Well, have you ever heard of people saying like find your why? Have you heard that
Yeah,
before?
yeah.
Like why you do something?
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like if you can for an athlete as well, I feel like you can relate. When you dig deep enough, when you work out every day, it's almost not like changing your DNA, but like I feel like you strip apart so much baggage, right? I feel
Yeah.
like not just in the losing weight, but in like I feel like you get to such a truer sense of yourself, and I feel like the closer I get, the more I know myself. I feel like I have a better relationship with others. I feel like if it's kind of like that old adage, like you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. If you love yourself a lot, you can then in turn love somebody else a lot. If you don't know that love for yourself, you won't know how to love somebody else. I feel like that speaks volumes, and I feel like you could translate it or interpret it into how people treat themselves and what sort of things they do for others. I I've spent a lot of time, out of breath, you know, being hard on myself, and I feel like that allows me like just the capacity to bring others in, to
Yeah.
like to go through hard times is such a common thread so many people share that is like it's a foundation. It's a good starting point, and I feel like if you can do something yourself and get through those barriers and those obstacles, you can start to find others who've done the same thing. So I appreciate everything you've done. I feel like there's it's rare and rare to find some people like you, but it's so important. I'm trying to remember what was the question that we started with that got me here.
When did you first start playing soccer? Yeah. We kind
What
of.
was the last question? What was the
Oh,
last question you gave me?
I just asked about how you think people can involve themselves and impact others, whether that be giving money or not even
Yeah.
giving money or just giving effort or to help
Yeah,
out.
I've done too many. I've done too many headers, so
Yeah.
you're gonna have
Yeah.
to. No, it's just it's something that is it's so much bigger than me that yeah, it is easy to lose myself in it. But yeah, I think I answered to the best I can. What about you?
uh, I don't know. I mean, I agree. I think that whatever you do is okay, is worth it. If you're trying to put yourself out there, that's all you can do. I think
Yeah,
if you're being lazy and not wanting to help out, then that's your own fault. But if you're attempting to do something that is as good as that's all you can do. Um, like you said,
yeah,
people don't have millions of dollars to spend on youth organizations like this, but if you're giving your time, if you're volunteering, like I could think of the golf outing that we have. You don't have to give
right,
this organization. You don't have to give the Buddy Fund thousands of dollars. But if you're going there and volunteering or giving shoes like that, that is enough. And I think the more and more you do throughout your life, the better you'll be. But that doesn't. You don't have to lay out your money on one single event. So that's kind of what I think, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I think I have a goal of eventually helping out hopefully thousands or millions of people, but right now I'm just interviewing you and getting your story out and seeing where that takes me to help out this organization, because in the long run, hopefully that'll help out more and more people.
yeah, for sure. Um, is there any goal that you have in a long term goal in terms of a cause that you find that you hold
Uh,
important, or maybe a retirement plan of sorts? Like I know a lot of nonprofits have like a board of directors that
yeah,
or committees for events. I think
yeah.
are a big deal. Have you thought about doing stuff like that?
Yeah, I would love to do something like that. I still have to learn a lot more about what goes into that. But I'm not sure. I kind of like to live day by day, just because I can be pretty anxious about things and kind of think about stuff too much. So I like to just think of it day by day. So I don't really know. I mean, 10 years down the road, I want to be helping people whatever way I can. Eventually, yeah, I'm honestly thinking about going to. So I'm graduating in the fall of this upcoming year, so of
Congratulations.
this year, um, and I have a business communication major, but I'm thinking about
Wow.
going the teaching route and helping people in that way. So teaching things like business or um, I want to do like a podcasting class. That'd be awesome. But I think
Yeah.
teaching, because in my experience in high school, teachers really impacted my life. I had quite a few teachers that really just kind of guided the way for me. And I know it's kind of cliche, but it's true. And I want to
For
be
sure.
there for people, because I think high school is the perfect age of like finding out where you're going for the next chapter of your life. So I think if I can do that for people, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
But that's
those transformative years, right?
yeah, yeah. That's 2 or 3 more years of school, so we'll see what happens. I got to figure out the money situation with that too. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Well,
but
I've always known, and another 2 cents I can put in is that when you're born in this day and age, and when you look around, there's people that are on TV, there's people that you've heard their story, and there's people that you have that people idolize, and are iconic.
yeah,
And I've never necessarily gone the route of being like Rihanna is my iconic person, right? I've always leaned toward my three are almost like a Mahatma Gandhi and like a Mother Teresa, and even, you can throw like Nelson Mandela in there. These are people that like gave themselves for a cause, and I've always really respected that.
yeah,
And it does relate, to Russell Westbrook. right? He's giving his all to basketball, and he's got his charity. He's doing his all, just like how like you can, do it for justice or for a cause. I feel like it is a direction for me, especially when you're like, when you're an athlete, it's not lonely, but it's like you're solo a lot in terms of like not many people can relate to, the ins and outs of your day, because you're like, oh yeah, I missed a couple, pop flies or what have you.
Yeah.
And people are just like, oh, okay, well, I just got like fired from like a real job. And you're like, it is a real job. I kick a ball into a goal. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sort of thing sometimes is difficult to relate to, but having that direction, having that justice behind something, I feel like it can humanize you. I feel like it can keep you grounded. I feel like it does humble me and keep me, keep my ear close to the pavement too. I've always been, like I said, trying to play catch up with all these guys, and soccer's like the biggest thing on the planet. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
how you can either get a big head, or you can just realize that it's like, this sport affects at least half the world. Like 3.5 billion out of 7 watch the World Cup. So it at least affects half the world.
Yeah.
And like, if I can connect with, one out of 2 people, especially in the United States, it's harder than somewhere else, I feel like,
Yeah.
for the soccer aspect of it. But it, you know, it, I feel like it's never gone away. I told you, I've given everything a chance. I've tried to play hockey. I ran track, and I got into different fields of study that I thought were interesting, and languages and all this stuff. And nothing, I think, checked off the list of everything I wanted to do in life like soccer did. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so I and charity is like top of the list. So it's definitely been a great experience, and it's something I think about all day, every day, and it can only go up from here. And then it's something I can do in retirement as well. It's something
Right.
flexible. It's something I can do, just to get myself out of the house. I feel like I have such an engine, that I've created for myself, that like, if I were to just like hang up the boots for the final time, I feel like I would wake up the next day wanting to do something. I don't know if I'm the guy to put his feet up on the beach and
Yeah.
and chill the rest of my days. So
Right.
yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be doing this a long time, honestly.